The fall of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire, one of the greatest civilizations of antiquity, began to decline in the 4th century. Its collapse in 476 AD marked a turning point in history, ending classical antiquity and ushering in the Middle Ages. Rome's fall was due to a combination of internal and external factors. Internally, political instability, economic hardships, and a weakening military left the empire vulnerable. Corruption and power struggles eroded its governance. At the same time, external pressures mounted. Barbarian tribes like the Visigoths and Vandals invaded Roman territories, and in 410 AD, Rome was sacked by the Visigoths under King Alaric. By 476 AD, Odoacer, a Germanic chieftain, deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. While the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive, the Western Empire fragmented into smaller kingdoms, setting the stage for feudal Europe. Rome's cultural and legal legacies, however, endured. Roman law influenced the development of legal systems worldwide, and its architectural marvels, like the Colosseum, continue to inspire modern designs. The Age of Exploration was a transformative period when European powers set out to discover new lands and establish trade routes. It began in the 15th century, fueled by advancements in navigation, shipbuilding, and a desire to find alternate routes to Asia's lucrative spice trade. Portugal led the charge with explorers like Prince Henry the Navigator. Bartolomeu Dias reached the southern tip of Africa in 1488, and Vasco da Gama found a sea route to India in 1498. Meanwhile, Spain sponsored Christopher Columbus, who, in 1492, stumbled upon the Americas, believing he had reached Asia. These expeditions connected continents for the first time in history, leading to cultural exchanges and the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of crops, animals, and even diseases between the Old and New Worlds. However, exploration also had devastating effects, including colonization, the transatlantic slave trade, and the decimation of indigenous populations. Despite its dark sides, this era laid the foundations for globalization, shaping the modern world economy and geopolitical landscape. The Industrial Revolution, beginning in the late 18th century, transformed the world from agrarian societies to industrial powerhouses. Originating in Britain, it spread rapidly to Europe, the United States, and beyond. Key innovations like the steam engine, spinning jenny, and mechanized looms revolutionized production. Factories emerged, leading to mass production of goods. Transportation advanced with the invention of railroads and steamships, making global trade faster and more efficient. While this period brought immense economic growth and technological progress, it also had its downsides. Urbanization led to overcrowded cities with poor living conditions for workers. The exploitation of labor, including women and children, became rampant. Over time, labor movements and reforms improved working conditions. The Industrial Revolution also sparked modern environmental challenges due to increased pollution and resource consumption. Despite these challenges, the Industrial Revolution remains a cornerstone of human progress. World War I, often called the Great War, was a global conflict that forever changed the political landscape. Sparked by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria in 1914, it escalated due to alliances, nationalism, and militarism. The war pitted the Allied powers, including Britain, France, and Russia, against the Central Powers, led by Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. Trench warfare defined the conflict, with soldiers enduring brutal conditions and little progress on the front lines. New technologies like machine guns, tanks, and chemical weapons made the war incredibly deadly. By its end in 1918, over 16 million people had died. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 imposed harsh penalties on Germany, contributing to economic hardship and political instability that would eventually lead to World War II. World War I also marked the decline of empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, paving the way for new nations. Its impact on art, literature, and society was profound, giving rise to movements like modernism and shaping global politics for decades. World War II was the deadliest conflict in human history, with an estimated 70 to 85 million deaths. It was triggered by Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939, driven by Adolf Hitler's expansionist ambitions and ideology of Aryan supremacy. The war divided the world into the Allied powers, led by the United States, Soviet Union, and Britain, and the Axis powers, including Germany, Italy, and Japan. It saw significant events like the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were murdered, and the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, marking the first use of nuclear weapons in warfare. World War II reshaped the world. The United Nations was established to prevent future conflicts, and the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union emerged. Decolonization accelerated as weakened European powers relinquished control over their colonies. Technological advancements during the war, from radar to penicillin, also transformed industries. The war's legacy continues to influence global politics, economics, and culture. The Cold War was a geopolitical struggle between the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. Unlike traditional wars, it was fought through espionage, propaganda, and proxy conflicts. The world was divided into two ideological blocs. Events like the Berlin Airlift, the Korean War, and the Cuban Missile Crisis exemplified Cold War tensions. The space race also became a significant aspect, with the Soviet Union launching Sputnik in 1957 and the US landing a man on the moon in 1969. The Cold War ended in 1991 with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, marking a victory for capitalism. It left a legacy of technological advancements, such as satellite communication, but also conflicts in regions like Vietnam and Afghanistan. This period profoundly shaped global politics, creating alliances like NATO and the Warsaw Pact, whose influence persists today. The civil rights movement in the United States was a pivotal struggle for racial equality and justice. It sought to dismantle systemic racism and segregation, particularly in the South. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X played crucial roles. Events such as the Montgomery bus boycott, the March on Washington, and the Selma to Montgomery marches brought national attention to the cause. The movement achieved significant legislative victories, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It also inspired global movements for equality and justice, from South Africa's anti-apartheid struggle to gender equality campaigns. Despite progress, the civil rights movement highlighted the ongoing fight against racial injustice, a battle that continues to this day. The Berlin Wall, a symbol of Cold War division, separated East and West Berlin from 1961 to 1989. It represented the ideological divide between communism and capitalism. The wall's fall in 1989 was a dramatic moment, signaling the end of the Cold War. It was preceded by a series of peaceful protests and reforms in Eastern Europe, as people demanded freedom and democracy. The wall's collapse led to the reunification of Germany in 1990 and the dissolution of communist regimes across Eastern Europe. This event marked the triumph of democratic ideals and the beginning of a new era in international relations. It remains a powerful symbol of hope and unity. The COVID-19 pandemic, caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, was one of the most disruptive events of the 21st century. Emerging in late 2019, it quickly spread worldwide, leading to unprecedented global lockdowns and economic disruption. Healthcare systems were overwhelmed, and over 6 million lives were lost. The pandemic highlighted societal inequalities, as marginalized communities bore the brunt of its impact. On the positive side, it spurred advancements in vaccine development, with nanotechnology becoming a game changer. It also accelerated digital transformation, from remote work to telemedicine. The pandemic forced humanity to reevaluate priorities, emphasizing the importance of healthcare, mental health, and global cooperation in addressing crises. Its long-term impacts are still unfolding.